30, we're gonna call this meeting to order. We have, you like to do that first, right now?
We do this first.
You want to,
We should pledge, please. I pledge
of
allegiance
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Foreign policy.
you call roll, please.
Representative Bean,
Present.
Representative Bowden.
Here.
Thank you. Representative Boger. Representative Boards.
Yes.
Representative Croker. Representative Comtois.
Here.
Representative Dumas.
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia.
Here.
Representative Hewitt.
Yes, there.
Representative McCarter. Representative Nagel. Clerk's here. Representative Fauché. Representative Smart.
I'm here.
Representative St. Clair.
Here.
Representative Terry.
Present.
Representative Trotter. Representative Varney. 11, we have a quorum.
Okay, pardon me? We have Representative Coker on Zoom over there. We're gonna need to have a vote to see whether or
I make a
not,
motion to let Representative Croker participate via Zoom.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, so I guess it's 11-0. So Representative Coker, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm in my girls' room all by myself because nobody wants to be within 20 feet of me.
So next we gotta approve the agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And a second. Any discussion?
Everything has to be a roll call.
Roll call. Can you do that, please?
Yeah. This is to approve the agenda as presented. Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden.
Yep.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Here. Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Hewitt.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Smart,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Passed. Next is the approval of the executive committee and delegation minutes of March 5th.
We have to do the ones from the 14th.
And we're gonna do them together, you think?
Well, we can do it separately.
I think we ought to do them separately. So we'll start with the minutes of March 5th. We have a motion.
With the motion to accept the minutes.
Is that the one where we make?
Yeah. Is that the one?
Yeah, yes, the correction, the representative board, that's 1 million, the name on the bottom of page 2.
I misspelled Board's name on page 2 accidentally. So I'll make the motion to accept minutes with that one correction, fixing Mike Board's name on page 2.
I have a question. Is it the executive minutes we're doing or the delegation? meetings? Okay, just double checking.
Any further discussion on the minutes of the delegation meeting of March 5th?
No one seconded it yet.
Second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? We're gonna take the roll, please.
Okay. So approve the minutes of March 5th. Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Abstain.
Representative Hewitt.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Smart.
Yeah.
Representative St. Clair.
Like, yes, I would just, yes, I'll talk about it. Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
This is.
Unanimous, one abstention.
So the other one.
Doesn't say
That, and then we also have ones on the
Yeah,
table.
that
About
was that.
14.
And then-
Okay, so now we need a motion to accept, to approve the exec.
On the table, yeah, please.
No, this has been executive.
For the executive committee minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that one to approve.
Second.
Second it.
Any discussion? No. Take the roll.
That's on raise your hand, sorry.
Oh, was it?
Barbara, did you raise your hand?
About, no,
Okay, I thought I saw your hand move, sorry.
no, I'm good.
Okay, this is to approve the executive minutes, so it's just the executive committee. Which is Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes. Okay.
So Representative Coker,
Is this the budget committee or the executive committee? I'm not on
It's
the executive.
executive committee, it's not Coker, yeah, it's me, you,
He was on,
Harry, no, executive committee, me, you, Harry, Representative Hewitt.
Yeah, yes.
There's five of us, that's what threw me in.
Okay, that's who says.
I had, sorry. Crap, that's executive, just next people. We have a quorum at least present, which is nice. All right, it is. So Bean, Boards, Harvey Bolia, Hewitt, yeah, okay. Were you here for the executive meeting?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
What's this?
That's three plus those two, that's fine.
Yes. So they're passed?
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the minutes for the 14th. Delegation minutes for 14th.
But we have to review that on the table first, so.
Do we,
Oh,
so
okay.
we tabled them to the next meeting, do we have to actually motion to take it off the table then?
It's automatic.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
If the motion is, it's on the agenda.
What's
You
that?
move the table to the next meeting,
Yeah.
you don't have to take it because
Alright.
yeah.
So it's off the table, I'll make the motion to approve December 14th minutes as they were sent out to everybody, because there was no changes made from people.
I'll accept it.
Second.
It, yeah.
Any discussion? Representative Ploje. How are you?
Oh, thank you, sorry.
Yeah, I was still like,
Listen to how you are.
very well.
Good.
No, I didn't miss anything.
No, not yet. Okay, so, you want-
Question.
pardon me,
Miss-
Representative?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, quick question is. So the minutes of the 14th were sent out, but they have not been printed for us to actually look at in black and white. Is that
Yes, that's
correct? That is correct. Thank you.
Any further discussion? You want to call the roll?
It's to approve the minutes of 12/14, Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden. Okay, Representative Bowden, approve the minutes for 12/14.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Abstaining. I didn't look at them, so I can't.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Hewitt.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes, Representative Ploche,
I wasn't at that meeting.
you want to abstain?
Abstain.
Representative Smart,
Okay. Sure, yes.
Representative Blair,
Oh, abstain.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
unanimous with 3 abstentions.
So, Representative
Mr.
Terry.
Chairman, it appears that the minutes of the meeting that we've just approved are not on the agenda.
Yeah.
So Given the fact that there's been a vote to approve, can we just can we just add to the agenda the minutes of December 13th, 2023 and March 5th, 2024, not deal with the rigmarole one? Because we can go for a big rigmarole if you want to, but otherwise, since it was an honest omission, just put it on there as if it was.
Do we want to put that to a vote? Is that necessary to put it to a vote or just put it on there?
You can say without objection,
Without objection, we're gonna put that on the,
if it's unless there's an objection.
Their objection.
Kind of like a do-over.
hearing none, gonna put it on the agenda,
What was the exact date again, December?
14th.
I looked at them, but I don't remember.
March 14th.
No,
No, December
December 14th.
December.
2024. Thank you. Go ahead. Who's that?
Yeah, you got the delegation one executive.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is interviewing for the vacant county attorney position. I'm not exactly sure how to proceed with this. So you got any recommendations?
Have them come up.
Yeah, have it come up with that.
Pardon me?
Well, one up at a time and.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Could you, give your name and why you'd like the position, please?
Certainly. My name is Keith Cormier. Currently, I'm the Deputy County Attorney at the Belknap County Attorney's Office. Is it okay if I start with a little bit of my background so that you have an understanding? I went back to law school in the fall of 2012. And at that time, my intention was to become a prosecutor. Through some odd twists and turns, I ended up having a degree in international law, but my last year in law school, I ended up getting an internship at the Newburyport District Attorney's Office in Massachusetts. That time I was what was called 303 certified. It's similar to New Hampshire, which has Rule 36, which allows you to act as an attorney while under the supervision of a supervisor in the office. While I was at the Newburyport District Attorney's Office, I had a lot of hands-on experience. In fact, I had my first jury trial while still a student in law school. At that time, or in Massachusetts, I should say, district court allows people to get a jury trial on misdemeanors. So I was doing misdemeanor driving while intoxicated at the time. After I got out of law school, I did some volunteer work for the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office for a little while. While I was there, I was writing different motions, objections, anything that the office really needed. And in the fall of 2016, that is when I interviewed here at the Belknap County Attorney's Office with then Melissa Branson, the county attorney at the time. She hired me and I began my career here in January of 2017. When I first started here, Attorney Branson, now Countway, had a very interesting way of teaching. She basically believed that if you were skilled enough to get the job, you were not given any handcuffs, you were thrown into the deep end of the pool. And so that's exactly what happened. I had to learn how to swim very fast. I'm very thankful for that experience. I wouldn't be the prosecutor I am today, but for that. There is something about having to fight for your life initially in your career that really hardens you. I was also lucky enough during my first year at the Belknap County Attorney's Office to enroll in the National Attorney General's Trial Training Program at that time. That was one of Melissa's gifts to me on her way out, was getting me into that, which is typically reserved for people at the Attorney General's office. Over the course of my career, I've had, I think this is still accurate, although County Attorney Livernois came close to topping the number, but I tried more cases than anybody else in the office during my time at the Belknap County Attorney's Office. In fact, I'm actually the longest tenured person. I was there before Andrew. During my time, I've also tried the widest variety of cases. I've tried everything from death resulting, sale of controlled drug death resulting, aggravated felonious sexual assault cases. I've done welfare fraud cases. I've done financial exploitation of the elderly. There's nobody else in the office. Even Andrew did not have the experience that I did trying the variety of cases. I was promoted to Deputy County Attorney in August of 2019, and I've had that position since then. I'm very thankful. Former county attorney Andrew was fantastic to work with. He put a lot on my plate. During the pandemic, there was a situation where we thought it prudent to kind of split up the office into two groups where to cut down on contact. So I was essentially in charge of the office every other week while the others in the office were working remotely. That was when he started to delegate more day-to-day responsibilities to me. So I think I have actually a fairly good idea of what county attorney is required to do on a day-to-day basis. And I will also say that in Belknap County, it's a little different than a lot of different county attorneys' offices in the state. You know, Merrimack County or Hillsborough County, that position is more of a figurehead. Those county attorneys never really set foot in a courtroom. They are there strictly to perform administrative duties. In Belknap County, we do not have that luxury. We don't have that many attorneys to be able to do that. So as county attorney, you also have to be the tip of the spear. You have to be the best in the office. I think given my time at the Belknap County Attorney's Office, I have, demonstrated the necessary skills to take over the office now that Andrew Livernois is a Superior Court judge. Again, I've had a fair amount of responsibility delegated to me over the time I've been working there as deputy. And I've had very good working relationships with people in the office. I will also say that during my time, I fostered very good working relationships with different law enforcement agencies throughout the community, as well as agencies like the Child Advocacy Center, which are, the Child Advocacy Center is crucial to what we do in this county. I'm sure you probably aren't as familiar with the amount of child sex abuse cases we have in this county, but it is startling, and it's a problem. We do our best to combat it, and they are integral to our work. Certainly, I have provided a number of letters of reference. I'm happy to talk about it, but I've worked in this county now for 7.5 years. I have to say, I must thank my wife, but for her willingness to move at the drop of a hat to this location. And then she works in Dover. We live in Dover. We have now moved to Laconia to make this work. But for her, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. But I've loved working here. I love the people I work with. I would like to continue to do that. And I think I'm at this time, well, I'm the only one who's applied, but I also think I'm a great candidate regardless of that, because I have the experience necessary. I have the relationships in the county necessary to continue to do the good work we've done, because our office has a very good reputation throughout the state and with the different judges. I want to continue that. And certainly as county attorney, having the ability to bring somebody else in who can help our office, because we are, you might not be aware, we are one of the busiest county attorney's offices in the state. Per attorney, the caseload is second, I believe, only to the Manchester office in Hillsborough County. We do a lot here, and we've done a great job considering the tremendous caseloads we've had to deal with in managing those caseloads and getting good results. We're not just sitting back in our offices and acquiescing to defense counsel and giving out sweetheart deals. No, we've really put our nose to the grindstone, and we've gotten a lot of great results over our years, and I'd like to continue that, and I think I can continue that as county attorney.
Does anyone have any questions? Representative Tomqua.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for taking my question. And I'm so glad you brought up the child advocacy group. They're fantastic. So no doubt you've got the background, you've got the training. That's not even a question. My question to you is management style for the people on the staff. Like you said, you're not only an administrator, but you're also active. How do you manage going forward the cases and the managerial side of things? And do you see anything that can be improved on, or that the status quo?
Certainly. I think, having worked with County Attorney Livernois for years, I think I've learned that I actually have different managerial style than he. My relationship with him was great because we were very similar personally on how we did things and how we thought about things. But I have a tendency to be a little bit more hands-on. I like to I look at the role as not just an administrator, but a teacher. You want to help the rest of your staff get better so that it takes more off of your plate and allows the rest of the people in the office to excel. Nothing would please me more than to seeing the rest of the attorneys in my office go on to have great careers. And I think I've learned over my time here that I do a pretty good job in teaching the job. In fact, I actually have a couple of my assistant county attorneys here today in support. I try to keep a very good relationship with everybody on my staff, because quite frankly, even support staff, I wouldn't be able to do what I do but for their assistance. I mean, a lot of my support staff, my victim witness advocates, they do the dirty work that I don't really need to be doing. I have other things I need to focus on. So there are some things that I see that could be improved. Maybe that's not the right word, but I think I would do differently. Just so that, again, I want to get an office that is run well and allows other people to do a variety of different things. Plus, when County Attorney Livernois was here, it was him and myself doing almost all of the sexual assault cases, which I would like to spread that wealth with the remaining people, because I don't need to be doing them all myself.
Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So based on what you're saying, and I think I agree, it's great that you want to share things and bring people up. I applaud you for that. How will you do that?
Well, that is a good question. So part of that has to do with, it will require more meetings. A lot of the time, the attorneys didn't really have much interaction with each other in the office, other than if you had a question, you were, certainly welcome to go into somebody's office. I know I was always bugging County Attorney Livernois. I will go to all of my coworkers for advice. But I think a more structured way of doing that, having regular meetings. I know when I was at the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office, they had a dedicated afternoon every Thursday where the attorneys would all sit down and hash out cases. And I think discussing cases and discussing strategies, how you're going to get this piece of evidence in at trial. What witnesses are you going to call to help, bolster your case? As an attorney, you don't know what you don't know, and you only learn by discussing it and saying, hey, has somebody ever told you this? Or have you ever thought about it like this? You're not going to know that if you're cloistered into your office without talking to anybody. I think it's crucial to get people in a room and discuss it. It also will, entail me when I have the availability. Now that how much availability I will have to do this will remain to be seen. But certainly sitting in, watching hearings, and being able to provide helpful feedback, feedback is essential. I know when County Attorney Livernois was here, he provided me a lot at the beginning of my career, which really helped shape where I went after that. I think it's very helpful to be able to tell somebody, hey, I saw you do this. That's not bad, but let's think about another way of doing this, or maybe try this in the future. Because a lot of times, if nobody's watching and nobody's telling you what you're doing might be wrong or it could be done differently, you're not going to know to do it. I mean, you could go for years without being able to realize, oh, wait, no, I've been doing this the wrong way the whole time. I know personally, to get better, I mean, the things that I have done over the course of my career, if I don't know something, in addition to the people that I talk to, I know people at the Attorney General's office, the U.S. Attorney's office, and all throughout the County Attorney's office in the state. I had a death resulting trial. I had never done one of those. Nobody in the office had ever done one of those. What did I do? I went and I pulled the recordings of Attorney Bill Branson's death resulting trial from 2017 and listened to those so I could learn how she did it, what things I thought I could improve on, what issues could pop up. I mean, there are so many learning opportunities throughout. And I tell people in my office all the time, it's important to even listen to defense attorneys when they're doing things, because sometimes I know I've been in a trial and I've heard a defense attorney say something or put, question the witness a certain way or deliver a closing a certain way that I thought, I really like that. Let me do it my way, and it's important to find your own style. I don't want to create an office full of me. I want them to be able to do what they do in the way they are comfortable doing it, because let's face it, most people are pretty good at telling when somebody's trying to pull the wool over their eyes. And so if you're doing something in a trial that's not genuine, I don't think that plays well with jurors. But if they feel like what you're doing is authentic, I think that does play well. It does resonate. And a lot of the time, what you're trying to do is, you know, you want to foster something with a jury where they like you and trust what you have to say, so they're going to take what you say seriously. I found that during, for instance, grand jury, when we bring in a bunch of people from the county, we present all of our cases for indictment. I looked at that as a great opportunity because one, you're interacting with regular folks and they have the ability to ask you questions. And those questions are great because they tell you what people in the community think that don't have a legal education. They hear a case and they say, wait, this doesn't make sense to me. It lets you know what you need to be thinking about during trial. If they have those same questions in the jury box, you can't ask them questions. They can't ask you questions, but you can be prepared for that. And you can use that time and opportunity to help educate people about what the law is. Because a lot of times it is educating jurors about what the law is, because if they know what the law is, it's easier for you to make the argument that the facts in the case and the evidence in the case applies and in your argument, and that they should be delivering a guilty verdict.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Final question. So you become county attorney. What happens? Are you going to sign up to run?
Yes, I would like to continue. I've loved working here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I mean, if County Attorney Livernois stayed here, I would still be working here. I don't want to go anywhere. I've always enjoyed being here. And again, the relationships I've fostered, I don't need to go do that elsewhere. Why do it elsewhere when I've been, you know, I have them here.
I had to ask the question.
Yeah, no, certainly. Certainly.
Any other questions? Representative Terry.
Thank you. So, in all my years of interviewing and hiring, I have found that some of the most useful questions in terms of getting to know a person and ultimately proving what kind of person would be a good fit was to ask personal questions, questions that are not necessarily reflected on a person's resume. I asked this question recently to somebody else and completely threw him for a loop. I hope this won't throw you for a loop. What would you say your wife would say is your best quality? And what would she say is the one thing that she thinks that you really need to work on?
My best quality.
I'm not looking for modesty, I'm looking for honesty.
Certainly. No, in terms of my best quality.
This, by the way, this is
Yeah.
what she would say, not
Correct.
you.
She would say that my best quality is my temperament with her, the fact that I'm very easygoing and laid back when I'm with my wife, and I go with the flow with her. My wife is a traveling veterinarian. It requires her to spend 4 months of the year in Florida without me. And the fact that I am okay with that and suffer through that, she is very appreciative of my support. The worst quality she would say is my ability to argue, because as I think she has said a number of times, that arguing with me is terrible because even when she knows I'm wrong, she still somehow loses. So that's, she said that a number of times. So that's very easy.
Thank you.
So, you know that we wouldn't normally fill this position. It's an elected position.
Yes.
This appointment is only through the end of the year. You'll have to run for that office like anybody else would. I don't know when the sign-up periods are. I assume that you'll
Yes.
figure that out on your own. Representative. Okay.
I was trying to get Travis's, when you're done, I would like to ask a question.
So as long as you are aware, you have to take the ball from here.
Yes, certainly.
That's all. I just wanted to make sure. I figured you probably were, but sometimes it happens. Representative Plojek.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Conley. As in our phone conversation, my habit is to tell the applicants right up front when I make a decision.
Yeah.
So I gave you yours, and for everybody else to know that, yes, I'm going to welcome you aboard. But after speaking with you, yes, I wondered, when you have to go to court,
Mhm.
plea deals to trial,
Yes.
We got property crimes and we got person to person. And I'm just gonna share. Property crimes, if the person can get reimbursed, whatever, but person to person, a victim, from my point, unless they agree to it, is not done justice with a plea deal. Now, your opinion, how do you handle those things? And I'm assuming you'll still handle the same way.
Oh,
Thank
yeah, you know, certainly in cases, it's very difficult because when you're representing the state, you don't have any clients other than the state. And certainly with people that are victims of crimes, especially victims of serious crimes, there's a delicate dance. You certainly want to do what you can to get the justice they want to see, but sometimes that's not always realistic. I've sat down with victims of crimes before where the sentence they've proposed is not even lawful. And so you have to have, you know, a conversation with them about that. It is really tough sometimes because as a prosecutor, you will look at a case and you'll say, you know, the evidence just isn't here. As a prosecutor, I can't ethically prosecute somebody if I don't think I can get a guilty verdict at trial. That's, as you can see from my resume, I was a member of the New Hampshire Bar Ethics Committee for a number of years. In fact, I would still be, but for the caseloads I have currently, it required me to focus all of my attention. And I would say very rarely in my career have I negotiated plea deals that somebody was completely in disagreement with. And I want to say that they're not wrong for feeling the way they feel, but if you try to please everybody, again, they're not your client. You have to do what is in the interest of justice. And sometimes that requires doing something that might not necessarily be supported by the victim. But again, at the end of the day, it is for the judge to decide. I can put forward any sentence I want in front of a judge, and the judge will tell me whether or not it's okay, if it needs to be harsher, if it needs to be lighter. In fact, well, typically they tell me it needs to be lighter than what I'm currently asking for. But you know, it really is tough. And plus, as long as you keep the victim as involved as you need to. I mean, I certainly want to make sure that, look, hey, I know you're not in support of this disposition. This is a plea deal you don't like. Here are the reasons why. And I want to make sure that they are aware that they have every right to go into the courtroom and tell the judge how they feel. And if the judge decides that that's not appropriate, then fine, I will go back to the drawing board. I'm not going to drop the case. But again, I'm doing what I think is in the best interest of justice. And since they are not my client, I have to figure out what is appropriate, given the circumstances, given what a person's criminal record is, what the alleged acts in a particular case are. I mean, there are so many different variables. It's really hard to come up with like a one size fits all approach, because so very rarely do I see a case that I say, oh yeah, this is just like the one I had last time. I mean, certainly with, you know, with drug cases or whatnot, but when you're talking victim on victim, they are sometimes very, very different. And I mean, I've had a number of person on person crimes that I've prosecuted, and I can't tell you, I don't think any one of them is really even that similar.
I think Representative Harvey Boyer was next, then you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for volunteering for putting your name forward. So glad that you're staying in the county and that you have such a good reputation statewide. And obviously you're part of that, so thank you. And I just wanted to, while we have you here, this isn't an interview question, but I ask it of all the law enforcement in my district, that we have you here. Are there any trends that you see? You mentioned, unfortunately, a lot of sex abuse crimes. Can you share with us any updates, any trends that you're seeing in the county? Anything getting better, worse, et cetera? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Sadly, I think I've seen an uptick in cases since the pandemic started. Now, I don't know whether that is because there was an artificial deflation in the number of cases that we had.
Cases of
Well, everything in general. I mean, I know that during the beginning of the pandemic, we were somewhere around the ballpark of in the 500s of new cases. Last year, I think we had over 780. And when there's only 6 attorneys in the office, that's quite a bit. Typically, we're gonna have a lot of sexual abuse cases. I haven't noticed an uptick because it's so high to begin with. So there's that. Drugs, I mean, there are obviously drug issues in the county, and I don't think, I'm probably not the only person who's gonna rail against this, but bail reform hasn't helped anything. What I've noticed over the years is the trend of judges letting people go who continually fail to appear for court. They continue to rack up new cases because when they have an active warrant, they get arrested, they have more drugs on them, it starts a whole new case. And quite honestly, with what's going on with the repeal of felonies first and going back to the old bind over, now granted, this is only about a 4-month sample, things have not gone well at all. Prior to felonies first, the old policy with bind over was that you would have probable cause hearings after a person was arrested. Felonies first was supposed to get rid of probable cause hearings. But back in the day, for the most part, you could get defense attorneys to waive probable cause hearings as long as you provided discovery or you could make some sort of deal beforehand. These days, defense attorneys are not taking that position. They are fighting every single probable cause hearing for the most part. We're talking simple, low-level drug cases where a person is arrested on a warrant and is found in possession of drugs, and they're gonna get up there and say to a judge, there's no probable cause that my client committed a crime. I gotta pull in, witnesses to testify, to justify this, and it's wasting a lot of people's time, which during the felonies first regime, I know there were some people that didn't like it, but quite frankly, it made things a lot easier, and it certainly cut down on some of the unnecessary work that I foresee us going through in the next few years.
Representative Comtois, did you have another question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to follow up a little bit on what Representative Leo talking about. You've seen an uptick in these upticking cases. It sounds like there's repeat offenders. Would you say that 10% of the cases are repeat offenders, or would you put can you put a quantitative figure on that?
At this point, it would be just a flat out guess because I haven't ran the numbers. I mean, I will be quite honest. I have seen a lot of repeat names over the years. So while I would be guessing, I think 10% would be low on the number of repeat offenders. There are, the judicial system has gone to they focus more on rehabilitation in say drug crimes, for instance, but again, I'm seeing a lot of the same names over and over again. I'm seeing the same crime. I'm seeing defendants with 3, 4 active cases at a particular time. And a lot of the time now, defense attorneys are also starting to roll the dice to see, hey, let's see if I can get a jury to acquit me on this. What's the harm? Why sign up to go to any period of incarceration if I can just, convince a jury, maybe I didn't do it.
Follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you mentioned child sex crimes. Based on different counties, are there any counties that have higher levels of child sex crimes, or is it just across the board that there's so many of them?
Yeah, that's also hard to quantify because typically we don't share a lot of those kind of statistics county to county. We are one of the busier, and the reason I know that we are one of the busier counties is because, again, having a good relationship with the people at the Child Advocacy Center, I know how many interviews they schedule versus some other counties. It's hard. I mean, per capita, we're probably pretty high. I don't know about areas like Nashua or Manchester. But I do think, based on my time working in this job, I do think we have a disproportionate number. compared to other ones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you mentioned, Representative Terry brought up, actually Representative Cloutier, plea deals and things. Is there any crime that you would not offer a plea deal for?
Well, that's the only thing I'll say about that question. If somebody's going to plead to the maximum sentence, then certainly I'd be willing to entertain that.
Okay,
I have, and let me give you this example, without going into any specifics. I did have a case of child sex abuse, which involved multi-jurisdictions, multi-states, actually. I did plead it out, but I also pled him out to 22 to 44 years in state prison. So depending on the situation, if they're willing to take that hit, I will. And sometimes it's also a question of, especially with child sex abuse cases, when you have a victim who has to go through not only testifying, but cross-examination, it does not typically go well, even if you get the right result. And so if we can get to a number that everybody is comfortable with, I would rather spare the child that process, because again, I have seen people who have won that it has ruined them in some way. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to say ruined, but it has given them a ton of extra trauma. They have a lot to deal with, and I want them to get past this as soon as we can. And so if I can spare them that, I will, but I'm certainly not going to, especially if the child wants to go for it, I'm not going to spare a defendant being tried a case because I'm worried about the results in the long run, because at the end of the day, the worst result is having a person who's done something heinous to a child walking free.
thank you for that. And you've explained plea deal a little bit more than I, because it's not necessarily just giving someone a chance to get off, but it's also pleading out to the maximum and saving some trauma. So thank you for enlightening me on that. I appreciate it.
Representative Hewitt.
It's always interesting to talk about legal cases of crime, punishment, and so forth. Unfortunately, in the legislature, I have a different job. It's called money. And one of the big problems that we have is money. I'm a little concerned as we look at the progress that the legal department has made over the years, that there's kind of a reluctance to admit the fact that we ain't gonna help. And you see that on a regular basis. So when I ask people who are applying for a job as a judge or even administrators in court facilities, I'm often interested if they foresee in some fashion that there's a train coming down the tracks and they're not exactly sure when it's going to go off. Right? So I don't want to make people scared that the things going down the tube. But it's pretty obvious from the statistics that we get from the judicial branch, as well as from the fiscal people, that the necessity for more services is growing. And that makes a difference in how criminal cases are dealt with. And it also creates a controversy in terms of dealing with civil. So from your point of view, you've been at this for a while. And you've been, as far as I can tell from the background here, you've been a little too busy to worry about what's going to happen 10 years from now in terms of your caseload and all that stuff. Even though I'm sure that there are times when you go home at night and say, geez, what am I going to do now? We all do that. So I'm interested in finding out, from your point of view, all of these types of cases that we've been talking about. To what extent is the system currently able to manage all of those in an honest and forthright way? Without going away with something that might be available in the future. Just
Yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts there. So. What I will say first off is with the repeal of felonies first, it's hard for me to judge where the problem's gonna come right now because of how new this system is. Even though it's not a new system, it's the old system, but it's full of attorneys that never practiced under the old system, so they don't know, they don't remember what it was like and don't remember, how things were dealt with back. Certainly over the last couple of years, there was a real worry about the backlog of cases that we were dealing with in Superior Court. I know Andrew and I had a situation where we were trying cases either every other week for a couple of months, or we were trying cases simultaneously. He was in courtroom 1, I'd be in courtroom 2. It was very difficult. However, things are starting to thin out a little bit. It does feel like the court in Belknap County, I can't speak for other counties, but we are starting to make some real progress. I think that comes from the top. Judge Leonard has really pushed us to try cases, and it has really started to get the docket moving, which at the time, the last year and a half, I would say was tremendously stressful. There's nothing like having 3 trials in 4 weeks to really get you going, but it's now starting to become more manageable. I also know that we really, we've had 6 attorneys in the office at some times, but we haven't had 6 experienced attorneys in the office. And I'm hoping that if we have 6 experienced attorneys in the office, we will be able to do things we've never been able to do before. Because even with 780 new cases a year, we certainly can handle that. We've handled that fine with 5. We definitely can handle it with 6 qualified attorneys. Now, we do have a young woman who is going to be graduating from UNH School of Law at the end or the middle of May. And she's a Daniel Webster Scholar, so she's going to be able to take the reins. And she's going to be really, while she's a new attorney, she's had a lot of great experience working with a couple of different judges. So, I mean, legally speaking, she has a very sharp legal mind, which is going to serve us well. And I'm hoping that I'm able to find somebody who's experienced to come in to add a 6th person. That's really the goal, because losing county attorney in Illinois that's a lot of institutional knowledge. I mean, take out the fact that he was county attorney for 7+ years. He also had a lot of experience in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office. That's a lot of experience that it's hard to replace. And so my goal is to find somebody who's able to do it. But we have a lot of very experienced attorneys right now, and we have been able to get things moving. It will be interesting to see what happens over the next few years with bail reform, whether it gets changed or whatnot, because I certainly think that our case numbers are overly inflated because, again, people are being let out on personal recognizance, they're committing new crimes time after time. And it's very hard. A lot of people want, and County Attorney Illinois and I talk about this all the time. Everybody says they want, somebody to get treatment. That's all well and good, but what do you do when they don't do that? How many chances are you going to give them? So, do I see a logjam coming? It's hard right now to predict because, again, with the new system being so new. I think a couple of years ago, there was a real fear about what was going to happen. I think we've gotten past that and we're in a good place. I could see if, again, that bail somehow becomes more permissive and more and more people being let out on personal recognizance or whatnot. I could see that becoming more problematic. For the life of me, have a hard time envisioning the drug situation being worse, but it certainly could be, I guess. But there's so many variables. You are correct that my focus a lot of the time is on the here and now. and not in the long run, because I don't have the luxury sometimes of thinking that far ahead.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Representative Floyd.
I thought, thank you, sure. I thought it was done with something just. Piqued my thing when you mentioned the defense and making it harder for you. I really don't want to see prosecutors having an easy job. But that is are the defense attorneys actually starting to do their job, or are they just delay tactics?
Yeah,
The deal.
you know, that's a hard question to answer, and it's, I think, depending on the person, it could be either answer. I don't think there's a way I could make a blanket statement about, and, you know, any one individual. I will say that one of the benefits of this area is that, for the most part, especially when I started, we had a very cordial relationship with the public defender's office and the defense bar in this area, which is very important, because at the end of the day, most of your cases are going to be resolved by some sort of negotiated plea deal. And one of the great things about New Hampshire in general is that New Hampshire has a friendly bar. I was in Massachusetts before I came to New Hampshire. When I was in law school, I saw how things were done down there, and it's all out war. From the second you get your client arraigned. That's not productive. I typically find that the more hostile negotiations get, the less likely you're going to come to a resolution that everybody's happy with. Do I see stall tactics? Absolutely. And I would never call anyone out in particular for that. I would say that there are also a lot of newer public defenders that are out there. And so it's not that they're finally doing their job. What you have are a bunch of people that have never been a defense attorney before. And they're trying to find their footing. And so they're taking all of these new opportunities as learning experiences, which I think is not a bad thing in general. I mean, certainly they want to, learn and be better at their craft, but it is causing more work for everybody, especially when, I've had hearings with some of my coworkers where I've been listening to the arguments back and forth, and defense has gotten up and said, well, there's no probable cause here. And I'm just looking around the room thinking, did you not just hear what this person said? The person in the ski mask in a car outside of a business in the middle of the night? Yeah, okay, all right, sure. I guess that's not a problem. But we are lucky in the area we are that we do have such a good relationship with the members of the defense bar, because they are not the enemy. They are the person that you have to negotiate with to see any sort of result. And you always get more with honey. And so the better the relationship you have there, and the less hostile it is, the better you're going to get for the public. Because I'm here to help people. That's my goal. That's the reason why I do this job. I want to help people. Now, typically I want to help victims of a crime, but also, if there's a defendant who I can do something to prevent this person from committing a crime again, certainly that's something we want. I think we all want, because let's face it, no matter what I do to this, person in terms of a sentence, they're most likely going to get out and be members of society again. So I think it would be better to have them be a productive member of society.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just an off-the-cuff question. Having served as a jury in Belknap County on a double murder, I got notices, but the can kept getting kicked down the road. Is that because of, say, the defense, the prosecutor, the judge? And how does that affect when you're prepping and you're getting ready for this? How does that affect your caseload as that snowballs?
Yeah, it definitely does not help the caseload. What it does is create a situation where you will get to a jury selection date and you're going to have 6 or 7 cases on that. As a prosecutor, it's always been my belief that I can't be the reason why this trial doesn't happen. I can't go to the court and say, listen, judge, I have a lot to do. I can't do this. If the judge tells me I have 3 trials, I got to pick a jury for on Monday, I'm picking 3 trials unless something happens. Now, sometimes there'll be situations where a state's witness is unavailable. That could sometimes necessitate a continuance. It will never, for the most part, be because of the judge, unless something some emergency comes up, and that very, very rarely ever happens, and almost never happens on a date of jury selection. A lot of times it has to do with, maybe defense needs a piece of evidence, or there's a question about, has the state complied with all of its evidentiary requirements? Maybe the state has noticed an expert and they want to depose an expert. And so a lot of times it is defense asking for it, but it's for a legitimate purpose. It definitely does not help the state. I prefer, let's get this moving, because let's face it, bringing 100 people into the courtroom, that costs money. Trials cost money. I mean, when I had my death resulting case, I mean, that cost a lot of money, and you have a lot of people, that you have to line up. You have experts. I was flying people in from Ohio and Pennsylvania to come and testify. You want to know that if you have jury selection on April 22nd, that April 22nd is the date you're going to pick a jury, and that you're going to start that trial in that 2-week period.
Representative Terry.
Yeah, unless there's objection, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we conclude the interview and that the delegation move to deliberation and decision.
Without objection?
So order without objection. So I'll have to do
So
a
order
vote.
without objection, do I need it?
I want to do votes.
No objections, so. You're the only applicant as far as I'm aware. So I guess at this point, we're gonna have to vote.
We just,
Deliberate.
we just excuse the
Yeah,
interviewee, and then
thank you, sir.
we'll go get them when we're finished. The candidate will be sequestered.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
We need a motion, right, to deliberate.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Mr.
Attorney
Cormier to our county attorney.
Second, do we have a discussion? Any more discussion?
I was impressed with his presentation. It seems to be very knowledgeable. He seems to know how to navigate the system. And he's personable. And I think those qualities are essential in that position. I think he's a good choice.
I think a lot of descriptives come to mind, knowledgeable, experience, engaging, forthright. I appreciated his candor, particularly with respect to the personal question, which a lot of interviewees fumble on because they think they're just going to talk about his work. I was very impressed, and I'm ready to vote.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, would you call the roll?
This is appoint Mr. Cormier for the county attorney,
For the
Representative,
remainder of the term.
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bowden,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Compa,
Yes.
Representative Dumas,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bullia,
Yes.
Representative Hewitt,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Loget,
Yes.
Representative Smart,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
unanimous.
So I guess we gotta have him come back in and tell him.
Through the jury.
You should go get him.
Barbara wants to. I think
You
Barbara.
said about.
I think Barbara likes it.
She just took off.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I just say something? If you should have a contested election in November, rather than having a debate, I would just recommend you say, run the tape, because you pretty much covered everything.
Thank you so much.
That'll work.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. So next on the agenda is the official wages for the elected officials.
You might want to hang around for this.
Yeah.
Does he not like it?
Oh, just for that, you get $1 a year now.
Wonderful. My wife will be so happy.
So
I think 100. Just like we do.
What I would like to tell the delegation is that I think that I've given every one of you, this piece of paper, this document that I had written up. The way that I came up with these numbers on here, I took all 10 counties. I eliminated the high wage, I eliminated the low wage, I took the other 8 divided by, and I added them together, divided by 8, come up with an average. So you'll see along the top there is 2021. It has an average. That's the average of the middle 8 counties. And under Belknap, that's what we actually paid those people on the left. And so on and so forth. 23, the average was right there. And then in 23, that's what we paid our people in those positions. Everybody understand what I did here? This isn't necessarily cast in stone, obviously. But I think that we're probably gonna have to do this one at a time.
Yes, please.
And so we'll start with the chair of the county commissioners. And you can see how they increased or didn't increase, whichever the case may be. And if you have a comment or a recommendation on the chair of the commissioner, so let me know and I'll we'll move to their comptoir.
Yeah, I make a motion that it remains the same.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion?
Yes. I would like to ask Representative Conklin why she's making that recommendation, remaining the same. If she can just, I guess, defend it or explain it.
Okay, so, you know, I understand, you know, what Representative Bean did with the averages and everything else. But our, county commissioners are fairly local. And it is an elected official position. I can't even talk tonight, excuse me. And it's, for me, it's about service, right? We do things because we want to serve the people of New Hampshire. And I believe that the commissioners are also kind of like delegation or representatives, is that they're elected to serve the people. It is not about the dollars and cents. Some of these other positions we'll get into, but those positions I believe should remain flat. That's my personal opinion. So did you?
Does anyone else?
So I'm looking at the numbers here, but we are pretty below the average. I mean, I just really feel we should be compensating, even if they're an elected official, compensating people fairly.
I can't hear you over here. If you could speak up.
Oh, I was just saying, I feel we should compensate people fairly for the job they do. So they're getting paid below average. To me, I don't think that's right. I mean, I know they're elected officials, but I mean, we have to, you know, they're taking time out of their lives and their day and their family, away from their family, and doing a important job for the county. I feel they should be compensated fairly.
Representative Comtois.
And this may be a question for Mr. Chair, it might be a question from the Shackett if one is, do they receive mileage, and 2, do they get health benefits through the county?
No and no.
Okay, that was my question. And just another comment, Mr. Chair. And I understand what Representative Boards is saying, but I also look at the Executive Council of New Hampshire that also has an extremely important job and handles a lot of stuff, and their pay is actually less.
What is their?
Well,
I believe it's, I'm not positive, but the last time I checked, it was about 10,500 or 11,000. It may have gone up, but I can't say. But it's right in the ballpark of these. Just gonna throw that out
well,
there.
I gave this a lot of thought,
Mhm.
and I like to be fair. I like to be conservative. I'm very conservative. I don't like departments with taxpayers' money. But at the same time, I gotta be fair to the people that are running for these positions. So I'm looking at this, the chair of the commissioner. The average was 12,900 for 23. We paid $11,004. I don't think that it would be out of the question to raise that amount to 11,500 in 2025 and 12,500 in 2026. That would still be $400 3 years from now, less than the average of the middle eight.
Could you repeat those figures? I'm sorry.
11,500 and 12,500.
Okay, thank you.
11,500 for 2025 and 12,500 for 2026. And like I said, even the 2026 one is still $414 less than the average right now in the middle eight after throwing out the high price and the low price. So that would be my recommendation.
What's it just getting now?
Representative Terry, I don't know how to proceed from here.
She made a motion.
Is that someone can amend the motion?
It's not in the motion.
No, we got a motion on the floor.
Who seconded her motion? So
Can someone amend the motion like they did on my last meeting here? So if his motion fails, then we go back to hers.
Oh, my God.
Why don't you just deal with the motion, and if it's defeated, then you come up with a new motion.
okay, so I've given my
Amending
spiel.
means tinkering, and I think we're talking about a.
The big tinker, the
This is
big
not,
tinker,
this is not a tinker here.
the big tinker.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Representative Contour, you have something else to say?
I have a question. Normally, when we do a increase, we do it for the election cycle. You're proposing a $500 increase for the next budget cycle and then an additional $1,000 for the following budget cycle. I mean, for the following year. Can I ask why?
I saw that somebody else had done that. And another county had done that in the deliberations right now. And I really didn't want to go the whole amount all at once because I'm kind of tight with the taxpayers' money. But at the same time, by the end of 26, I would like to see that we're at least thinking of these people.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to see, I don't want this to get messy, and it could in very easily, because we could have somebody else come up with different numbers. We actually have a motion on the floor,
Right.
and it's been seconded
Well, I
to
want to wait until
freeze the sums. And so I think that any discussion and debate should be on the motion. And then we vote on the motion and it either succeeds or fails. I think it's fairly clear now that we have other ideas as to where we ought to go. So it's not as though nobody here knows that there are other ideas.
So that those of you in the audience know that Representative Terry is one of our parliamentarians. The other one isn't here tonight, so we try to follow the rules and go with his recommendation.
I think this vote.
So can we take this vote? Is that okay?
No, I'd like to discuss it.
It's on
On the freeze.
it's on the freeze on.
We're
On
voting on
here.
That's correct, that's correct, and I'd like to discuss
Okay.
something, if I could,
You're up.
okay?
You're up.
You're up.
So Representative Ward's made a statement, and I believe that was with regards to this motion.
Yes.
And I would like you to expand on that a little more if you could, your reasoning for your comments on that.
Well, if we're looking at the averages that Chairman Bean did, we're paying our county commissioners almost $2,000 below the average throughout the state. You know, what, they're doing the same job as commissioners in every other county. They are elected officials, which we all understand. I mean, at the same time, I think we should be compensating people fairly on the basis of the job they do. And I don't know why Belknap, we're paying them less than below average wages.
Then it's smart.
So my question is, were these not budgeted in the budget we just voted on?
This is a different.
In the next budget.
Different
For the
budget. So
This is-
budget.
This is
would be
25 and
the next
26.
budget for next year,
The next
Yeah,
slide.
and then the next year.
25 and
Right.
26.
Next slide.
which is,
25 and 6.
Yeah, after we're running again. We run again, there's new election, these are for those coming budgets.
okay, so,
So the motion is to freeze at 20, no, I'm just clarifying here, Representative Cloutier. So with response to Representative Smart's question, what we'd be doing if we were to approve this motion, we'd be freezing. I believe that Representative Comtois was dealing with the first position or the first two.
First one.
First one.
First one, we'd be freezing at the 2021 level, which is also the 2023 level, and we'd be freezing it for 25 and 26. That is what we're talking about right now.
That's what we're talking about, exactly.
Um,
We're gonna try to cut this down a little bit because we'll be here until midnight.
I just want a point of clarification.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to, I misspoke, so I just wanted to let you know that the executive council is paid more than our county commissioners. I just wanted to, that's big for the record.
I was also too.
Not much.
I
but-
want to make one more statement. We also have to remember
I want to
the
be-
state of inflation going on right now. And we don't know where it's gonna be in 25 and 26, but my guesstimate is it's gonna be right where we are, if not higher. So I think, I mean, we're looking down the road to 25 and 26. I can't see freezing it at this point.
And don't-
Just, God bless, makes nothing, yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna go with Representative Cloutier, and then Representative Smart would like to call this question at some point here soon on this first one, but we'll go with you two, your comments.
Well, thank you, Jim. Well, where it is now is 4 counties within that 1,101 below. That's 40%. The counties are at that level.
It's not 4 counties, it's an average, huh?
It's an average.
The average, I'm saying.
So how four counties?
Out of
It's not the
the,
median.
out of the 10 counties, 4 counties, 2/5 are within the 11, one's 10,000. So
That's not
Not
so.
necessarily. So it's an average of the 8.
We have another sheet though, I think he's reading the other sheet.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, we get this sheet.
Yeah, he's reading the other sheet.
What the hell?
It was in our packet.
Have you concluded, sir?
Yes, I just want to point out that right now, 40% are at this wage.
40%, so 60% or above. Is that what you're saying? Representative Smart?
So I just, my feeling is, I'm hearing from a lot of constituents, people in Belknap that are complaining about taxes that are going up along with inflation. So everybody's dealing with that along, I mean, I'm working another job so that I can pay my property tax because we passed a big budget 2 years in a row. So I'm just thinking that, you know, I just think it's hard on everybody, not just the people here on this paper, but everybody in the county. So that would be my reasoning for.
Well, I got a comment to that. You know, I agree, taxes are too high.
Right.
I also think that the people that are gonna be getting these stipends, it'd be a lot easier for all the people in Belknap County to pay that difference than that single person to pay that difference out of his own pocket. So that's where I stand on that.
So you're saying it's just a cup of coffee?
No, ma'am.
That's
I'm
what,
saying it's less than a cup of coffee for everybody in Belknap County, but it's a mortgage payment for the people that are taking the positions. That could be rough, but you're welcome to your comment. Are there any other comments before we call the question?
Yeah.
Representative Hewitt.
Well, I'm looking at a document here. It's not an exhibit in the case. It describes a number of evidently compensation amounts. And frankly, it's absolutely impossible to determine who gets what. Because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different people. And nobody knows how the numbers were arrived at, other than that they are a percentage of something that exists now.
Let me explain it again, sir. I explained it individually to most of the people that got here early. There's a couple of you that got here a little later and I didn't have a chance. What I did is I took the 10 counties. I threw away the high price. I threw away the low price. So that left 8 counties in the middle. Okay, the average of those 8 counties is underneath the average. 11,883 and 21, and we paid in Belknap $11,004. And for that same position, the chair of the commissioners in 2023, after throwing away the high and the low, the average was $12,914, and we in Belknap County only paid $11,004. And that's how that works all the way down through. So those are actual numbers that were given to me. They weren't something that I dreamed up or anything. What I proposed for increases is something I dreamed up, I guess, you want to call it that. But it was based on this other mathematical information.
And the money, the amounts that you're talking about, in terms of the new amounts, are also.
They're not on that
We're
page.
not talking about
Oh,
those.
how can we possibly vote on it?
We're gonna vote on per zero increase.
That's what we're voting on right now.
You guys can take notes for me.
A motion to freeze it and not give them an increase or.
If the vote is gonna be to freeze the pay for the chair of the commissioners at its current price, which it's been at for 4 years now, and that'll freeze it for 2 more years. So it'll be the same wage for 6 years in a row. And I don't think that's fair.
And that's the motion before us.
So are you gonna call the question or something?
Did they get the mileage?
No.
We went over
The
that.
question we just
That's
asked.
already asked.
All right, sorry.
The answer was no.
So, are
Thank
you gonna call this question or are we gonna keep?
I think we should call the question, right?
Call the question.
That's you.
It's me.
It's gonna be somebody other than me. And you're the closest. So would you like to, do we want to continue to discuss this?
No,
No. Then we don't need to call the
Then we
question.
don't need to call the
We
question.
can proceed to the vote.
Okay. So we're gonna proceed to the vote. That means we're gonna have to call
Call the question and, yeah.
call the roll. And this is on
It's gone.
freezing.
Representative Contois, motion to please.
Just
pay.
freezing the chairs.
Everybody hearing this?
How do you vote here, Representative Bean?
This is just on the chair of the commission.
Chairman.
Just the chair of
This is the chairman, just the chairman, oh.
Yes,
okay.
just the first item on the agenda
Okay.
here.
You want
I vote no. I don't want to freeze it.
Representative Bodman. How do you
Yes.
vote? Representative Boards.
No.
Representative Coker,
No.
Representative Contois,
yes,
Representative Dume,
No.
the clerk votes no. Representative Hewitt, sorry.
No.
Okay. Representative O'Hara is not here. Representative Ploget,
Yes.
Representative Smart,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
No,
Representative Terry,
No.
and so that is 7 nays, 5 yeas.
Motion fails. Would you like to,
I would like to make a motion, Chairman Bean had brought across of 11,500 for 2024, no, 2025 and 12,500 for 2026.
I give you those numbers
11,500 for 25.
and 12,500 for 26. And I want to reiterate that even in 26, we will still be $414 lower than what the average is now, 4 years from now, 3 years from now. So we need a second on this if it's gonna move.
Second.
Have a second. We have any further discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Representative Dean,
Yes.
Representative Hogan. Yes. Okay, Representative. Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
No,
Representative Dume,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Hewitt,
No.
Representative Ploget,
No.
Representative Smart,
no,
Representative St. Clair,
No,
Representative Terry.
No.
Okay, that is 6-6, motion fails.
Motion fails. So somebody else got a recommendation? Representative Comtois.
I make a motion 11-5 for 2025 and 2026.
11-5 on both of them?
Yes,
Okay, oh, you second,
Do we have a second on that? 11-5 for
Second.
both of you.
what 800?
I'll second.
300.
It'll be $1,400 less in 26 than the average is now. So
What 800?
This, Mr. Chairman, this is like one of the most incredibly difficult things I've ever had to do, because this is like in reference to what? I could tear the rest of my hair out going through this tonight, but I don't want to, or I'll be in trouble when I get home. But at 11-5, I would just like to note that we will, with respect to 2023, will still be below Grafton, Cheshire, Hillsborough, Rockingham, Stratford, and slightly above Sullivan. I'm not opposing, I'm just noting.
that 11-5 would be in 26
There's
too.
a huge diversity here, disparity between the counties and what the different counties are doing, which means that it's not terribly instructive and helpful to me to make a decision. Thank you.
Representative Comtois.
thank you, Mr. Chair. When we talk about Rockingham, Merrimack, Stratford, and Hillsborough counties, the population of those counties can't even be compared to us. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Which counties do you think would be helpful for us to make a comparison to? Would Carroll be appropriate? Cowas and Grafton? And Sullivan? Yeah, so I just want to make it straight. I'm not trying to be argumentative, because I take your point, and I do understand that these other counties that you just mentioned have a much larger population. So I'm trying to get some kind of parity here with respect to population. And if these counties that we just mentioned are counties that have a similar population to Belknap, then with your motion, let me just finish, please. With your motion, we would be moving in the direction to coming closer to parity with those counties that have similar population. So the answer could easily be yes or no, or go ahead and speak to it, please.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yes, but their land mass is also different. So you have to take in, we're a more compact county
Yes.
compared to them, and some of them, well, I believe one of those counties has I think they have more than one. I'm not sure, but their prison system, their county jail system is a little bit different, where they take in some federal prisoners and things like that. So there's a lot of different dynamics going on in different counties.
May I?
I'd like to ask Representative Comtois a question first. What's the relevance to the size of the land mass or the population? It's a commissioner is a commissioner, his time is his time. It's constant all the way through, whether you're here or in Boston.
Well, are you asking me a
I'm
question?
asking you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With all due respect, if you are a commissioner in, say, Hillsborough County or Rockingham County, you're dealing with larger cities, you're dealing with a whole different dynamic population. And also a larger area along. So you have, even though a county commissioner is a county commissioner, the dynamics and the things that they would need to be working on are a little bit different than in a smaller county with a smaller population.
So you're saying that it takes more time in that county?
I can't answer that question, Mr. Chair, honestly.
So then I still fail to see the relevance.
Can I make a motion
That's just my
to
opinion.
call the question?
Thank you.
Yes.
So, so you're gonna
I'll
call the question?
withdraw my motion if we can vote, but is that correct? Is that correct?
I just want to make one more comment, then I'm ready to vote. And that is, it's, when I think about my increasing knowledge of the demographics of New Hampshire, I'm thinking that Carroll County is somewhat comparable in terms of size, land mass, square miles, and population. Grafton more so than Rockingham and Hillsborough. Stratford has, cities of Dover and Rochester, to represent Contour's point. Sullivan County is probably in the ballpark in terms of the size and the population. So with the motion that's on the floor, we would be moving in the direction of moving a little closer to those counties of the same size and perhaps population. Thank you.
I still don't have the answer to the relevance, but let me Representative Hewitt and then Ms. Shackett.
Well, if you're dealing with land mass and all that stuff, I tend to read the newspapers, read 4 newspapers every morning. And all the newspapers that I read, like the Manchester Union Leader, the Nashua Telegraph, the Concord Monitor, you read articles in those papers every day about how the county is gonna do this in the city, and the county is gonna do that in the city. And the county commissioners are negotiating with the city council and with the school board and with this one and that one. And so, but our point of view here now is that what the heck, the county isn't as big, or the county isn't as big as far as services as say Carroll County. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and I ain't voting for any of them. So I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna try not to say much more, but I'm gonna sit here and vote no, so you can put them all down now.
So did we have somebody call the question?
Wait a
Wait a
Call
minute,
the question. Did you second it, Representative Forwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Did Representative Sinclair get left out again?
That's okay. My question was
Here we
to
go.
Representative Hewitt.
Yeah, we've only got 5 more of these that are taking them 3/4 of an hour apiece.
I don't know that they should. Once we break.
I was hoping that we learned something on this
Once
first
we
one.
break the mold.
Get speed. So we're gonna call the question, is that all right?
It's already been moved and seconded, so it's called.
Call it out.
Well, the motion to call, now you have to vote.
But can you repeat the motion, please?
Call the question.
Chair.
Call the question.
Oh, we're gonna vote on
And then
that.
you'll immediately, if it passes, you'll immediately proceed to vote on the motion, go to 11-5.
I will withdraw my
11-5.
motion to call the question if we can agree to vote now.
I just.
It looks like we're not. Representative Ploje wants to say something.
I didn't want you to forget.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
You had made a comment about.
She had a question.
Oh, yeah, Ms. Shackett.
I was going to let you know that when county administrator types like myself compare each other, we break it down between those counties who have under 100,000 population and those who have over. And so everyone on the front of the page plus Sullivan County is in the group that Belknap typically compares itself to.
Bingo.
That helps.
Thank you.
So I that isn't where I got my numbers. It's close, but it's not exactly.
There's a motion.
There's a motion now.
There's a motion, the question's been,
Wait a second.
There's a motion on the floor.
Okay, I'm gonna have to put down in the motion. There's a second. Now the motion is to call a question.
Everybody that wants to call the
I
question,
thought you were gonna withdraw that motion if we were gonna vote on it.
I know, but you raised your hand.
All I
like-
wanted to do was I just wanted to ask Representative Hewitt a clarification.
No.
Fine,
No.
fine.
so this is a vote on whether to call the question.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Harry Bean.
Repeat the question, so everybody knows.
Just to call the question.
It's to call the question. All right.
On
So
the
we're gonna
motion,
vote.
on the pending motion, which is 11-5 and 11-5.
Okay.
Represent,
Change it.
Representative Bowman.
That's what he meant. But you don't
Okay.
know that, sure.
Representative Wards.
Yes.
Representative Kroger.
Yes.
Representative Comtois.
Yes.
Representative Dumais.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Hewitt.
No.
Representative Flojay.
Yes.
Representative Smart.
Yeah.
Representative St. Clair.
No,
Representative Terry.
Yes.
10-2, motion passes.
Okay, so now we're gonna call the question, and repeat the question, please.
Yes.
No, you're not, it's the motion, not the question.
The motion is, Representative Comtois' motion of
11-5.
11 to raise the, pay of the chair of the county commissioners in 2025 to 11.5 and
It's in your packet.
2026.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Harry Bean. Representative Bean.
I don't think it's enough, but it doesn't look like I'm gonna get the cooperation I was looking for, so I guess I'll just have to go with it.
Remember, it's 5 after 8.
Yeah.
Representative Bean votes yes. Representative Bowman.
yes.
Okay, Representative Forbes.
No.
Representative Coker.
Yes.
All right, Representative Comtois.
Yes.
Representative Dumais.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Hewitt.
No.
Representative Flojay.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Representative Smart.
Yes.
Representative St. Clair.
No,
Representative Terry.
Yes.
All right, that is 9-3, motion passes.
So it's 11-5 and 11-5 for the 2 consecutive years. Representative Terry.
Mr. Chairman, is this meeting being live streamed?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's,
I hope nobody's watching.
It's going viral.
you're getting comments, great. Okay, so I guess that one's taken care of. So now we've got to go to the vice chair and the clerk. And they get paid the same. And back to my paper here, no, one at a time.
I thought we voted for both of them.
no.
Okay,
Now we're on to
now we're on to the next one.
So the vice chair and the clerk of the commissioners, in 21, the average was 11,300. Belknap paid 9,300. In 23, the average was 11,800. And we paid 9,300. So we kind of went behind. I don't know, $5,000, 500 rather. So, Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make the motion to go up to 9,900 for both. Because we have to at least increase it by what we increased the chair by.
Second. Now we have a pending motion,
What's the motion?
To
9,900.
Yeah, but we gotta have a discussion on that.
Now that's right, so now we have a discussion.
So,
Okay.
you know, are we gonna go by the same counties that we went by before? Because I noticed on some of those other counties that the other 2 commissioners were paid exactly the same as the chair. So if we're gonna do that, this is kind of out of context a little bit.
Yeah.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's historically in Belknap County. And I don't know, but I would assume that the chair has more responsibilities. And and therefore has more work, a bigger workload. And we have always paid the other two commissioners less than the chair. And if we raise that by 500, actually, this is a little over $500 increase, keeping in line with what we just did with the chair, and keeping it fair, I chose $9,900 only because it's a nice round number, as opposed to just the increase of 98.54. So that was my thinking there. So,
That's $2,000 less for the next 3 years than the average is now. If that's the
That's the
will of the delegation, I guess that's gonna be it.
but may I? There are other counties that do pay their, I mean, I understand, I'm looking at some where they do pay them the same, but there are, you know, more than
No,
a few counties that pay less,
Yes, ma'am.
so than the chair. I do believe that the chair does more work.
and that's 9,900 for both years, not
Yep.
an increase on the second year.
Nope, we didn't do it for the other one, so.
So that's gonna wind up being, in 26, that's gonna wind up being about $500 more than in 21. Just throwing some numbers around. I guess we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Let's just vote.
Pardon me?
Let's vote.
Vote. We don't need to call the question. Vote.
No, call the roll.
Yes, but I wanted to restate, so it's vice chair and clerk?
Yep.
Yeah,
They're both the same.
All right, just wanted to make sure. Motion is to raise pay, vice chair and the clerk.
99.
9,900 in both the two following years. Representative Bean.
I'm gonna go with no. I don't think it's enough.
Representative Bowman.
No.
Representative Boards.
No.
Representative Coker.
No.
Representative Comtois.
yes,
Representative Dumaine.
No.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Hewitt.
No. That's
Representative Lopez.
distinctive. Yes.
Yeah.
he's
We're
gonna
continuing
all
to be
night.
distinctive.
Representative Smart.
Yes,
Representative St. Clair.
Yes,
Representative Terry.
Yes.
That is 6-6, motion fails.
That sounds familiar.
We need a new number.
Do we have a
I'd like to make a motion to move it to 10,500.
both years? Both years, 10,500. That's the motion. Do we have a second?
second it.
For what? 10,000 for what?
500,500 for the
Both
vice chair.
years for
For the
the
two
delegation commissioners each.
The clerk and the vice chair.
Okay, so that's,
All right.
we got a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Representative Bean.
Yes.
Representative Bowman.
Yes.
Representative Boards.
Yes.
Representative Coker.
Yes.
Representative Comtois.
no,
Representative Dumaine.
Yes.
Clerk votes no. Representative Hewitt.
No.
Representative Pojek.
No.
Representative Smart.
No.
Representative St. Clair.
Yes,
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Representative, and that's it, 7-5, motion passes.
could you say that one time louder?
7-5, motion passes.
Thank you.
It was 10-5 both years.
Correct.
10-5 vote.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is the treasurer. Okay, on the sheet that I gave out, the average in 21 was 5,200. Belknap paid 4,000. In 23, the average was 5,300 and Belknap still paid 4,000. So we're like $1,400 behind. You ready, Barbara?
yes. I'd like to make a motion to keep it the same, and then I'll speak to my motion if I get a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would. So the treasurer position is pretty static. And if we look at Cheshire County, Hillsborough County even, and Merrimack County, they're below us as far as the treasurer is concerned. The treasurer, we have a finance director, I believe, here that does most of the transactions. The treasurer is responsible for, and maybe please correct me if I'm wrong, regarding the revenue, tax imputation notes and securing those and signing off on those. And that is his main responsibility. And in the time that I have been sitting on this delegation, the last 4 years, he has called us remotely to do that business.
Mr. Shackett?
Yes.
That's one of his responsibilities, but his primary responsibility is making sure all of the cash in the county is reconciled and accounted for properly. It is solely his responsibility, just to clarify.
Okay, thank you. But
Representative?
thank you. But as I said, on my time on this delegation, he has always been remote when we've discussed business that we needed to vote on regarding him.
Okay, any further discussion?
Not in the state.
So Representative Sinclair?
I hate to profess my ignorance on this matter of the treasurer. Quite often, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but quite often I don't remember a whole lot of contested elections for the treasurer spot.
No, never.
And I've always thought that position is something that's kind of important, but not a heavy hitter, let's say. Maybe that's not the right word. So I guess I would look over to Deb over here and to ask, maybe it's not fair of a question, but how much time is this treasurer putting into actually doing this particular job?
And, okay, go ahead.
One other thing that he does, he is required to sign the manifest every week, which he does do. Sometimes remotely, sometimes he's here by dark of night. We don't see him a lot, but he is required to sign every single week, every payroll, every accounts payable manifest, along with the board of commissioners, which he does do that. And if I may, I would, the thing about the treasurer, it's a position of significant responsibility. But it is true that he has the finance director and the finance department who do the heavy lifting, I would say. His job is to essentially verify that they're doing what they're supposed to track internal controls and make sure people who are signers on our bank accounts are the appropriate people. So it's a high responsibility position. It's not, I don't think, a heavy workload.
No.
I would certainly say that. And it's a delicate balance because you want to make it attractive enough so we can have someone good and responsible run for the position, but not someone who would plan to take over the operation, which could happen. And when they could decide they're going to change the address on our bank account, and we might never see the bank statement again, which would be really impossible for us to work with. So it matters a lot who's in that position.
Yes,
Well, quick question, isn't the treasurer also responsible for shopping around for low interest rates for us?
We put it out to bid by a third party.
Oh, okay.
Representative Terry?
So, just to muddy the waters a little further, at 3961, that amounts to $76 per week. The treasurer is being paid $76 per week.
Going to 7650.
What do we get?
7617.
Okay, so is there any further discussion on the treasurer's pay?
Excuse me,
Representative Hewitt.
there's a little legal glitch in dealing with treasurers and people of that type of job. If the job isn't performed appropriately, the people who are entitled to be paid can sue us. And then they can raise holy hell and cause great litigation just because a number was wrong. So, you know, you don't walk around saying that the treasurer doesn't have any responsibility, and that, well, he only has to sign once a week and all that stuff. Go ahead. But, you know what you're getting into.
Any further discussion?
Only to observe that at $76 per week, this position begins to look more and more to me like the $100 a year that legislators receive. You're basically doing it out of the goodness of your heart because you're a citizen.
Go on.
But there's only one person that's gonna be responsible at the end. With us, there's 400.
Which is why they get more than $100 a year.
Which is why they get.
So listen.
$961 instead of $100.
If there's no further discussion, we're gonna call the roll.
Representative Bean.
But could you just repeat the motion, please? That's all.
Please.
Freeze the pay
Same.
freeze the pay of the treasurer, Representative Bean.
No.
Representative Bowman. Representative Woods.
No.
Representative Coker.
No.
Representative Thomas.
Yes.
Representative Dume.
No.
Clerk votes no. Representative Hewitt.
No.
Representative Cloonday. Representative Smart. No. Representative St. Clair.
No.
Representative Terry.
No.
Motion passes 11-1.
That fails.
I mean, fails. Motion fails.
That'd be good.
Recognize Representative Boards from motion.
Mr. Chair, I would like to,
Representatives,
Much is the order.
listen up, representatives.
Order.
Mr. Chair, I would
Please.
like to
The
set the
representative
treasurer's
reserve.
pay rate for 4,500 for 25 and 26.
Oh, second.
4,500 was that? what you-
Yep.
500, yes.
30 minutes.
I'm recommending $4,500.
For whom?
For the
Treasurer.
treasurer.
Fred.
Up from 3961. So it's $539 increase.
And they haven't done it.
No, we was.
Listen,
Let's close you, Mr. No.
can we have,
Please.
can we have some order down there, please?
What?
We have some order down there. We're trying to get this done tonight. All due respect. So is there any further discussion on this $4,500 motion? Would you, seeing none, would you call the roll, please?
$4,500 for both years for the treasurer to raise the pay. Representative Bean.
Yes.
Representative Bowman.
Yes.
Representative Woods.
Yes.
Representative Coker.
Yes.
Representative Comtois.
Nope.
Representative Dume.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Hewitt.
No.
Representative Loje.
Yes.
Representative St. Clair.
Yes.
I mean, Representative Smart, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh,
And St. Clair, sorry.
yes.
Yeah, okay. I know that. Representative Terry,
Yes.
okay. Shoot. That's 10-2, motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Register of Deeds Representative Boards. Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to leave this as is, looking at the averages. Oh, wait, I make a second. I'll
You
speak.
seconded it.
Yeah,
Would you like to speak to your motion?
yes, looking at the averages, Belknap County is, according to this sheet, like $7,000 a year over the average. So I think keeping this at this rate would be the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Do we want to discuss this or Representative
I,
Terry.
when you presented this to me, Mr. Chairman, and I raised a question with you, you know, why so much? You said honestly, that you didn't know. I found this perplexing. And, so I am fully in support of the motion. Obviously, since I seconded it, that we freeze this at 75,257. Thank you.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to make a comment, to Representative Terry, that our Register of Deeds is one of the busiest, registers,
In the state.
in the state.
I didn't hear what you
Reflected
said.
in the pay.
What did you say?
I said she is one of the busiest Register of Deeds in the state.
I think she's here.
I do listen.
Representative Terry.
Do we know why? Is it because there's a low office staff or what?
Lake Winnipesaukee,
Lake
Lake
Winnipesaukee.
Winnipesaukee.
It has about the deeds, the sales transactions.
We're ready to vote.
Well, actually, can somebody, what was the motion and made it?
The freeze.
Freeze.
Hughes first,
Freeze.
Representative Terry seconded it.
Okay, I'm good. All right,
Call the roll,
ready?
please.
Call roll to freeze. Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Baldwin,
No.
Get no credit.
Representative Lawrence,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
God damn.
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative Dumaine,
Yes.
votes yes, Representative Hewitt.
Oh.
Representative Floget,
Yes.
Representative Smart. Yep. Representative St. Clair.
No,
Representative Terry.
Yes.
And that is 9-3.
just something.
She's here.
9-3 passes.
Yes.
That was.
Okay, next on the agenda is the county attorney. We're gonna have to make him leave the room. No, I'm kidding.
I did.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to set the rate at $102,000 for 25 and 26.
I'll second that, Mr.
Can I
Chair.
have a moment to speak to my motion? Belknap County has one of the busiest county attorney's offices there are, and I think they should be paid a reasonable wage for what they do. I think it's really bad to set them around 102,000 for both years and see where we go after that.
Who seconded that?
Who seconded it?
Second.
I seconded it.
Probably did.
Seconded it.
Charlie, go ahead.
Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Charlie, Representative Sinclair, sorry.
But, I go along with the motion. However, I still think that that's grossly underpaid for the work that we expect the county attorney to do. Geez, we just heard all this stuff, all the war stories and everything else there, and I'm just putting it out for the 2 years from now, no matter who the county attorney is, that pay is gonna go up. And the taxpayers are gonna have to realize why it has to go up. Because, yeah, that's fine, you shake your head, but I'm just saying, we gotta raise that, you know, down the road. I may not be here, none of us might be here, God willing, so.
Well, I was shooting for 102 and 104, but in light of the way things have been going here
Yeah, I
tonight,
know that.
I figured we better just go with the 102 for
Yeah,
both years.
well,
It's a $4,000
I didn't
increase.
see anybody storm out back there, so maybe they can live with that, but in any event.
Any Representative Terry?
With respect to Administrator Chackett's observation with respect to the population of the counties, I'll just note that if we approve this, and I will vote to approve so that we're not here all night, that this is not an outrageous increase by any stretch of the imagination compared to the counties of comparable size relative to 2023 and the ones that have already acted to approve 2025, 26, or 25. Thank you.
We're ready to vote? You call the roll, please.
Okay, this is to motion to raise pay of county attorney to $102,000 for both years, 2025 and 2026. Representative Dean,
Yes.
Representative Modwin,
Yes.
Representative Boards.
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes,
Representative Dume,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Hewitt,
No.
Representative Cloutier,
Yes.
Almost got it. Yeah.
Representative Smart,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
11-1 motion passes.
Next on the agenda is the sheriff's salary. Representative Boards.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I would like to set the sheriff's salary at $83,000 for both 25 and 26.
How much
In a
did you say?
second, I will speak to my motion.
83,000.
83?
I'll second that.
Still gonna vote no?
Probably.
We have a very hands-on sheriff in this county, where other counties, they're not as hands-on. I think he's been doing a excellent job, and with inflation and everything else, I think it's time to bring him up to a better wage, which $83,000 would be fair in my view.
Representative Comtois.
thank you, Mr. Chair. When we set these rates, we don't know who's gonna run, so we can't be looking at who is doing the job now. We have to look at what the rate is. And based on average, he is already above the average. We kept the register of deeds status quo because the average was below that. So I just wanted to point that out. We can't be looking at how someone's doing a job because we don't know if that person is gonna be reelected. It could be a brand new person.
Well, in response to that, sometimes on these here, we've looked at these two counties over here, and then we've looked at those two counties over there, and then we've looked at something else, and it depends on what answer we wanna do, it seems to me. But at any rate, I'm gonna be voting for the $83,000. Any further discussion?
How did?
I voted?
Yeah.
No.
Thank
Get me.
Yeah. Good point.
All right.
Call the roll, please.
Yes, for the sheriff to raise the pay, $83,000 for the next 2 years, Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Bodwin,
Yes.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
No,
Representative Dume,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Hewitt,
No.
Representative Cloutier,
No.
Representative Smart,
Yes.
It's not an answer.
It is an answer.
Representative St. Clair,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
and it's 9-3, motion passes.
9-3, motion passes. Okay,
We had an answer.
next on the agenda is public input. Does anybody in the public have anything that they'd like to throw at us or whatever? Please. Nobody?
Shows in the public, because I would have input.
Seeing none, we'll close the public input, and we need a motion for adjournment. No motion.
No.